The sky burned red over Seoul when the alien ships arrived. Commander Jamin Park stood on the roof of the defense headquarters, watching the massive vessels descend through Earth's atmosphere. They were huge, each one the size of a city block. Their hulls glowed with a sickly purple light. There were hundreds of them. His radio crackled to life. "All units, this is command. Stand by for orders." Jamin grabbed the radio. "This is Park, what are we facing?" "Unknown, sir. They appeared 15 minutes ago. No warning. They're jamming all our satellites." Jamin watched as the largest ship positioned itself directly above the city. Its underside opened and a beam of light shot down to the ground. "Not a weapon." A message. Every screen in the city flickered and showed the same thing. A face. Not human. Gray skin, 4 eyes, a mouth that split horizontally. The creature spoke in a voice that somehow translated into every language on Earth at once. "People of Earth. I am Commander Thalvar of the Velkari Empire. We have conquered 17 star systems. You are the 18th. You have 72 hours to surrender completely. If you resist, we will destroy your cities one by one. This is not a negotiation. This is fact." The transmission ended. Silence fell across the city for exactly 3 seconds. Then the screaming started. Jamin ran back inside. The command center was chaos. Officers shouted into radios. Screens showed the alien ships spreading across the globe. Every major city had at least one hovering above it. General Yuna Shin stood in the center of the room, perfectly calm. She was 50 years old and had fought in 3 wars. Nothing rattled her. "Report," she said quietly. "Ma'am, we count 347 hostile vessels. They've positioned themselves over population centers. Our fighters are scrambling now. And our fleet." "Already engaging in orbit, ma'am." Yuna nodded. "Show me." The main screen switched to a view from orbit. Earth's defense fleet was small. 23 warships built over the last 30 years after humanity had first detected alien signals. They looked like children's toys compared to the Velkari vessels. The first battle lasted 4 minutes. Earth's ships fired missiles and energy weapons. The alien shields absorbed everything. Then the Velkari returned fire. Beams of white light cut through Earth's warships like paper. In those 4 minutes, humanity lost 19 ships. The remaining 4 retreated toward the moon. "God help us," someone whispered. Jamin felt his hands shaking. He had trained for this his entire career. But training and reality were different things. "What are our orders, ma'am?" Yuna stared at the screen. "We fight. Get me every available unit. Start evacuation of civilians to underground shelters. And somebody get me Dr. Hana Kim. We need to understand what they're saying." 20 kilometers away, Dr. Hana Kim was already working. She sat in her small office at the university, surrounded by computer screens. Each one showed recordings of the alien broadcast. She played them over and over, analyzing every word, every sound. Hana was 32 years old and had spent her entire life studying languages. She spoke 9 human languages fluently. Now she had 72 hours to understand an alien one. Her phone rang. It was the military. They wanted her at headquarters immediately. "I'm busy," she said. "Doctor, this is not a request." 30 minutes later, Hana stood in the command center, staring at the same screens everyone else watched. "They're not bluffing," she said after reviewing the data. "Their language structure suggests absolute certainty. They've done this before, many times. Can we communicate with them?" Yuna asked. "Yes, but I don't think it will matter. They're not interested in talking. Look at their word choices. They don't say if you surrender. They say when you surrender. To them, this is already over." Jamin stepped forward. "Then we hit them now." "Before they're ready." "With what?" another officer asked. "They destroyed our fleet in minutes. We have ground forces, missiles, nuclear weapons." Yuna shook her head. "Nuclear weapons are a last resort. The fallout would kill millions. We need another option." But there was no other option. Everyone in that room knew it. At exactly the 48-hour mark, the Velkari sent another message. Commander Thalvar's face appeared on every screen again. "You have not surrendered. This is disappointing but expected. We will now demonstrate our power." The transmission ended. 10 seconds later, Mumbai disappeared. The Velkari ship above the city fired a single beam of light. It lasted 3 seconds. When it ended, there was a crater where Mumbai had been. 12 million people died instantly. Then Jakarta, then Cairo, then Mexico City. The Velkari were making their point clear. Every hour, one city would die. Jamin watched the news feeds with horror, bodies, rubble, fire. This was extinction. This was the end of everything. We have to surrender, someone said. No. Yuna's voice cut through the room like a blade. We don't surrender, ever. Get me every available weapon. Every soldier. Every ship still flying. We make them pay for every meter of ground. Ma'am, we can't win this, I know. But we can make them remember us. Far to the south, in Antarctica, Captain Daeho Choi was having a very different day. He stood in the control room of Research Station Kepler-7, staring at his computer screen with confusion. That can't be right, he muttered. His assistant, a young engineer named Bora, looked over his shoulder. What is it? These seismic readings. Something's moving under the ice. Probably just shifting glaciers. You know how unstable things are down here. No, look at the pattern. This is mechanical, and it's 3 kilometers down. That's impossible. There's nothing down there except ice and rock. Daeho pulled up older records files from the 2040s when this station was first built. There was something there. A classified project. The files were heavily redacted, but he found a name. Project Testament. What's Project Testament? He asked. Boris shrugged. Never heard of it. Why? Daeho pointed at the screen. Because according to this, there's a facility beneath us. A big one. And it's waking up. Above them, the war for Earth's survival had begun. Cities burned. People died. The Velkari tightened their grip on the planet. But 3 kilometers beneath Antarctic ice, something ancient was stirring. Something humanity had built when it first learned it was not alone in the universe. Something that had waited 73 years for this exact moment. Deep in the ice, lights flickered on in a massive chamber. A computer system activated, its processors warming up for the first time in decades. Sensors detected the orbital bombardment. Defensive protocols engaged. The countdown had begun. Humanity's last hope was waking up, and the Velkari had no idea what was coming. 24 hours after the first cities fell, Earth was losing. Commander Jamin Park crouched behind the ruins of what used to be a shopping center in Seoul. His uniform was torn and covered in dust. Blood ran down his left arm from a piece of shrapnel. Around him, 15 soldiers waited for his orders. They were all that remained of his battalion. 200 men and women, now 15. Sir, we can't hold this position, Sergeant Minho whispered. They're everywhere. Jamin knew he was right. The Velkari had landed ground troops 6 hours ago. They moved through the city in massive war machines, 20 feet tall, covered in armor and weapons. Human bullets bounced off them like rain. We fall back to the subway tunnels, Jamin said. Move quiet. Stay low. They ran through destroyed streets past burning buildings and bodies. So many bodies. Jamin tried not to look at their faces. If he started thinking about each person, each life lost, he would break down. He had to stay focused. A Velkari patrol appeared around the corner. 3 war machines. Their sensors swept the street. Run! Jamin shouted. They scattered. The machines opened fire. Energy bolts tore through concrete and metal. 2 of his soldiers went down immediately. Jamin kept running, his lungs burning. He could hear the machines behind him, their heavy footsteps shaking the ground. He dove through a broken window into a collapsed building. The machines kept moving, their sensors not detecting him in the rubble. He lay there for 10 minutes, barely breathing, waiting. When he finally emerged, he was alone. His radio was dead. He had no idea where the rest of his squad was. He was cut off, alone in a city full of enemies. Jamin found a working computer in an abandoned office building. He managed to connect to the military network. The news was worse than he feared. The defense lines around Beijing had fallen. London was under siege. New York had been evacuated. Earth's armies were being crushed. General Yuna Shin's face appeared on the screen in a recorded message. She looked tired, older than she had 2 days ago. To all remaining forces, fall back to secondary positions. We are coordinating one final assault. All available ships will launch from lunar base in 18 hours. This is our last chance. Shin out. Jamin stared at the screen. A final assault. A suicide mission. But what choice did they have? Meanwhile, Dr. Hana Kim was no longer on Earth. She had been captured during the attack on Seoul and taken to the Velkari flagship in orbit. They wanted her expertise. They wanted her to convince humanity to surrender. She sat in a cell that was more like a room. Clean white walls, a bed, food that was surprisingly edible. Her Velkari guards had not hurt her. They had been almost polite. Commander Tholvar visited her on the 2nd day of her captivity. He was tall, over 7 feet with gray skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. His 4 eyes studied her with something like curiosity. "Dr. Kim," he said in perfect English, "you are a linguist, a person who understands communication. So you must understand that resistance is pointless." "I understand you're underestimating us," Hana replied. Tholvar made a sound that might have been laughter. "We have destroyed 17 civilizations. Some were more advanced than yours. All fell within a week. Your species lasted 4 days. That is actually impressive. We're not done yet." "Yes, you are. But I respect your determination. That is why I brought you here. I want you to broadcast a message. Tell your people to stop fighting. We will spare those who surrender. We can be merciful, and if I refuse, then more of your cities burn. I do not enjoy killing. It is simply efficient. Your choice determines how many more die." Hana looked at him. She wanted to refuse, to tell him that humanity would never surrender. But she thought of all the people still alive. All the children. Could she condemn them for pride? "Let me think about it," she said quietly. Tholvar nodded. "You have 12 hours. After he left, Hana explored her cell. There was a computer terminal, probably meant for her to write her surrender speech. She sat down and began typing, but not a surrender message. She pulled up the ship's network, looking for any information she could find. The Velkari were confident. Too confident. They had left their systems relatively unprotected. Hana was not a hacker, but she understood systems and patterns. She found files on their previous conquests, battle reports, tactical data, and she found a weakness. The Velkari shields were incredibly strong against energy weapons. They had fought 17 civilizations that all used similar technology. Lasers, plasma, energy beams. Their shields were designed to stop these. But kinetic weapons, simple bullets and missiles. The shields were weak against those. Not because the Velkari were stupid, but because most advanced civilizations had stopped using primitive kinetic weapons centuries ago. Humanity still used them. Earth still had missiles, railguns, and mass drivers. Hana copied the data onto a small drive she found in the room. She had to get this information back to Earth somehow. In Antarctica, Captain Daeho Choi was about to make the most important discovery in human history. He had defied orders to evacuate. The research station was supposed to be abandoned, but Daeho could not ignore those readings. Something was down there. Something big. He took 4 engineers with him, Bora, Taeyang, Jiwon, and Hyun. They loaded equipment onto snow vehicles and drove to the coordinates where the readings were strongest. "This is crazy," Bora said. "We should be evacuated with everyone else. If there's something down here, something that can help, we have to find it," Daeho replied. They used ground-penetrating radar and found it. A massive metal structure 3 kilometers beneath the ice. It was huge. "Impossibly huge. What is that?" Jiwon whispered, "I don't know, but we're going to find out." They spent 6 hours drilling through the ice. The equipment groaned and sparked, but eventually they broke through into a tunnel. It was perfectly round, carved through solid ice and lit by emergency lights that flickered on as they descended. At the bottom, they found a door. It was 30 feet tall, made of some kind of black metal. Symbols were carved into it. English, Russian, Chinese, all saying the same thing. "Dreadnought Sanctuary Protocol. Authorized personnel only." "Dreadnought?" Taeyang said. "Like a warship?" Daeho approached the door. There was a panel beside it covered in frost. He brushed it away and saw a handprint scanner. Only one way to find out. He placed his hand on the scanner. Nothing happened for 3 seconds. Then the panel lit up green. The door began to open with a sound like thunder. Beyond was darkness. Then lights activated one by one, revealing what lay beyond. A cavern. No, not a cavern, a hangar. And suspended in the center, held by some kind of invisible force, was a ship. It was massive, easily 2 kilometers long, black as midnight, sleek and deadly looking, covered in weapons and armor that looked decades more advanced than anything humanity currently had. "What is this?" Bora whispered. Daeho walked forward slowly. He could see the name written on the hull in massive letters. Absolute Testament. As they approached, more lights activated. A hologram appeared in front of them. A woman's face, beautiful and calm, made of blue light. "Sanctuary protocol activated," the hologram said. "Identify yourself, Captain." Daeho swallowed. "I'm Captain Daeho Choi of the United Earth Defense Force." Voice pattern recognized. Authorization confirmed. "I am Arya. Adaptive Response Intelligence Array." I have been waiting 73 years for someone to wake me. Welcome aboard, Captain. It appears humanity requires assistance. Deho stared at the ship, then at the AI, then back at the ship. What are you? He asked. I am humanity's insurance policy, Arya replied. Built in secret during the 2040s when we first detected alien signals. Hidden here in case the day came when Earth faced extinction. That day has arrived. Shall we save your species, Captain? Captain Deho Choi stood on the bridge of the Absolute Testament, and he felt very small. The bridge was huge, with stations for at least 50 people. Screens covered the walls, showing views of space, Earth, and the Velkari fleet. Everything was clean and new, as if the ship had been built yesterday instead of 73 years ago. Arya's hologram stood beside him. The Testament was built by 12 nations in secret. They used technology reverse-engineered from a probe that crashed in Siberia in 2041. When they finished construction, they brought the ship here and waited. They believed that someday, humanity would need a weapon that the enemy did not expect. Why didn't they use it before? Deho asked. We've been fighting the Velkari for days. The Testament requires a crew of 200 to operate at full capacity. Most systems can run automatically, but weapons, navigation, and tactical decisions require human input. The ship was designed to be activated only when humanity was on the edge of extinction. That moment is now. Deho looked at his small team. 5 people total, including himself. We don't have 200 people. We have 5, I'm aware. However, I can operate most systems independently if given proper authorization codes. These codes can only be provided by someone with admiral-level clearance. I'm just a captain. Then we need to find an admiral. Deho thought quickly. General Yuna Shin was the highest-ranking officer left alive. She was supposed to be on Lunar Base preparing for the final assault. Can you contact Lunar Base? Yes. The Testament has quantum communication arrays. They cannot be jammed or intercepted. Do it. Moments later, General Yuna Shin's face appeared on the main screen. She looked shocked. Captain Choi? Where are you? What is that ship? Ma'am, I'm in Antarctica. I found something. A warship, hidden under the ice. It's called the Absolute Testament, and it might be able to fight the Velkari, but we need your authorization codes to activate all its systems. Yuna stared at him. A warship? Under Antarctica? That's impossible. Arya's hologram appeared on the transmission. General Shin, I am Arya, the Testament's AI. What the captain says is true. I was built in secret by the International Defense Coalition in 2046. My existence was classified at the highest levels. Only a few dozen people knew about this project, and most of them are dead. Yuna leaned back in her chair. If this is real, why wait until now? Because the Testament was meant to be humanity's final card. A weapon the enemy would never see coming. If used too early, we lose the element of surprise. Now is the correct time. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Then she made her decision. I'm sending you the codes, and I'm diverting every available person to your location. If this ship is real and it can fight, then our suicide mission just became a rescue operation. Over the next 6 hours, people arrived. They came in small groups, sneaking past Velkari patrols. Pilots, engineers, soldiers, anyone who could make it through enemy lines to Antarctica. Commander Jamin Park was among them. He had stolen a transport in Seoul and flown south, barely avoiding Velkari fighters. When he landed near the research station and saw the Testament emerging from the ice, he thought he was hallucinating. Is that real? He asked Deho. Very real. Welcome aboard, Commander. We need every person we can get. By the time the countdown ended, they had 183 people. Not the full crew, but enough. Engineers took positions in the power core. Pilots climbed into the fighter bays. Weapons specialists manned the gun stations. Jamin took the tactical officer position. Yuna herself arrived on the last transport. She looked at the ship and shook her head in disbelief. I've been in the military for 30 years. How did I not know about this? It was designed so you wouldn't, Arya said. I apologize for the deception, but secrecy was essential. Can we win? Unknown. The Velkari have numbers and experience. We have surprise and superior technology. The outcome will depend on many variables. That's not a very encouraging answer. I am an AI. I do not provide encouragement. I provide facts, Yuna smiled slightly. Fair enough. Let's see what this ship can do. Meanwhile, on the Velkari flagship, Dr. Hana Kim had made her choice. She would not broadcast a surrender message.
Instead, she had found a way to escape. During a guard change, she had managed to slip into a maintenance corridor.
The Velkari were not expecting a prisoner to try to escape. Why would they? There was nowhere to go. But Hana had found something in her research. The ship had escape pods, small shuttles for emergencies. She found one and climbed inside. The controls were alien but logical. She pressed buttons until the pod launched, shooting out of the flagship toward Earth. Alarms blared on the Velkari ship. Tholvar was notified immediately. "Find her," he ordered. "She is valuable," but Hana's pod was small and fast. It plunged through Earth's atmosphere, burning bright. She aimed for the southern hemisphere, toward the coordinates she had seen in the network for a major human military gathering, Antarctica. The pod crashed into the snow 20 kilometers from the research station. Hana climbed out, injured but alive. She activated a distress beacon and waited. A transport found her 2 hours later. They brought her to the Testament. When she saw the ship, she started laughing. "We had this the whole time?" "Apparently," Jamin said, helping her onto the bridge. "Are you hurt?" "I'll live. And I have something important. Information about the Velkari shields." She pulled out the data drive. "Their shields are weak against kinetic weapons. Bullets, missiles, anything physical. They're designed to stop energy weapons because that's what every advanced species uses. But we still use the old weapons." Deho took the drive and handed it to Arya. "Can you use this?" The AI analyzed the data in seconds. "Yes, this is extremely valuable. The Testament's weapons include both energy and kinetic systems. With this information, I can optimize our attack patterns. Our chances of success have increased by 18%. 18%? Jamin said. "That's not much." "It is the difference between certain death and possible survival," Arya replied. Yuna stepped forward. "Then it's time. Power up the ship. Let's show these aliens what humanity can do." The Testament's reactor came online. It was a zero-point energy reactor, pulling power from the fabric of space itself. The amount of energy it generated in 1 second was more than all of Earth's power plants combined. The ship began to rise. Ice cracked and shattered. The entire glacier shook. Seismic sensors around the world detected the movement. The Velkari detected it too. A massive energy signature appearing in Antarctica. Tholvar watched the readings with confusion. "What is that?" "Unknown, Commander. Energy levels are off the scale. Is it a weapon?" "Possibly. It's moving, rising from beneath the surface. Send a battle group to destroy it. Whatever the humans are doing, I want it stopped." The Testament broke free from the ice and climbed into the sky. Its engines burned bright blue, lifting the massive ship toward space. On the bridge, alarms sounded as they detected incoming enemies. 12 Velkari warships approaching, Arya reported. "They will intercept us in 40 seconds. Deho sat in the captain's chair, his hands gripping the armrests. "This is it. Everyone ready?" Around the bridge, people nodded. They were scared. They had every right to be, but they were also determined. "Arya," Deho said, "show them what we've got." "With pleasure, Captain." The Testament reached orbit and turned to face the approaching enemy. For a moment, everything was still. Two forces staring at each other across the void of space. Then the Testament fired its first shot, and the war for Earth's survival entered its final phase. The Testament's first shot was beautiful and terrible. Quantum torpedoes launched from the ship's forward tubes. They looked like streaks of purple light, twisting through space faster than any normal weapon. The Velkari warships tried to evade, but the torpedoes phased through dimensions, appearing inside their shields. 3 Velkari ships exploded before they could react. Their shields had been useless. The torpedoes had simply appeared inside the hull and detonated. On the Testament's bridge, everyone stared at the screens in shock. "Direct hits," Arya reported calmly. 3 enemy vessels destroyed. 9 remaining. Captain Deho Choi gripped his chair. "Keep firing!" The remaining Velkari ships opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams, missiles, plasma bolts. Hundreds of weapons firing at once. The Testament's shields flared bright blue as the attacks hit. "Shields holding at 92%, Arya said. "Their weapons are ineffective." Commander Jamin Park watched the tactical display. "They're not used to fighting something that can take their hits. They're panicking." The Testament fired again, this time with railguns. Massive metal slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. Thanks to Hana's information, Arya knew exactly where to aim. The slugs punched through the Velkari shields like paper and tore into the ship's hulls. 2 more enemies destroyed. 7 left. They're trying to run, Jamin said. Don't let them, Yuna ordered. If even one escapes and warns the main fleet, we lose our advantage. Deho nodded. Arya, target their engines. I want them crippled. Acknowledged. The Testament accelerated. It was massive but incredibly fast. Within seconds, it had caught up to the fleeing ships. The railguns fired in precise bursts, disabling engines but not destroying the ships completely. 5 ships crippled. 2 still fighting. The last 2 Velkari vessels turned and charged at the Testament, firing everything they had in a desperate suicide run. Their commanders knew they were going to die. They wanted to take the human ship with them. Brace for impact, Jamin shouted. The Testament's point defense systems activated. Thousands of small guns tracked and destroyed incoming missiles. The energy beams hit the shields, and this time they did some damage. The shield strength dropped to 70%, but it held. The Testament returned fire with its main weapon, the Void Breaker. It was a spinal cannon that ran the length of the entire ship. It took 30 seconds to charge, drawing power directly from the 0-point reactor. The ship's lights dimmed as energy built up in the weapon. On the bridge, a purple glow illuminated everything. Deho could feel the power building. It made his teeth hurt. Void Breaker charged, Arya announced. Firing. A beam of concentrated energy lanced from the Testament's bow. It was purple and white, brighter than a star. It cut through space and hit the first Velkari ship dead center. The ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. The beam tore it apart at a molecular level, breaking every bond, every atom. One moment the ship was there. The next moment there was nothing but dust. The beam continued and hit the second ship.
Same result.
Total destruction. Silence fell on the bridge. Everyone stared at the screens, at the empty space where 2 warships had been seconds before. What was that? Someone whispered. The Void Breaker, Arya said. A 0-point energy cannon. It unmakes matter at a fundamental level. Very effective. Very effective, Jamin repeated. That's one way to put it. Deho shook himself out of his shock. Status of the crippled ships? 5 Velkari vessels remain, all disabled. They are broadcasting surrender signals. Ignore them for now. We have bigger problems. He was right. The main Velkari fleet had detected the battle. 247 warships were moving into position around their flagship. They formed a massive formation, a wall of ships that filled the space between Earth and the Moon, and the Testament was heading straight toward them. On the Velkari flagship, Commander Tholvar studied the readings. 1 ship destroyed my battle group? Yes, Commander. The energy readings are unlike anything we've encountered before. How is that possible? The humans were primitive. Unknown, Commander. But the ship is approaching our position. Tholvar thought for a moment. Then he smiled. Let it come. We will crush it with overwhelming force. Prepare all vessels for combat. When that ship enters range, I want every weapon firing at once. But then something unexpected happened. The Testament broadcast a message. On every Velkari ship, on every screen, a transmission appeared. It was General Yuna Shin sitting in the captain's chair looking directly at the camera. Commander Tholvar, she said, you wanted us to surrender. Now I'm giving you a chance to surrender. Leave this system immediately, or we will destroy every ship in your fleet. This is your only warning. The transmission ended. On the Velkari flagship, several officers laughed. Tholvar did not laugh. This is fascinating, he said. They destroyed 12 ships and think they can fight our entire fleet. Such courage. Such stupidity. Open a channel. His face appeared on the Testament screens. General Shin, your courage is admirable, but mathematics does not lie. You have 1 ship. I have 247. Even if your ship is powerful, you cannot defeat us all. Surrender now and I will spare your crew. Yuna smiled. You're right, Commander. Mathematics don't lie, but I think you forgot to carry the 1. She cut the transmission. What does that mean? Tholvar asked. He got his answer seconds later. The Testament's hangar bays opened, and fighters poured out. 50 small ships, each one fast and armed with the same advanced weapons as the Testament. They spread out in formation, surrounding the Velkari fleet. And then the Testament charged. What followed was the most spectacular space battle in human history. The Testament dove into the center of the Velkari formation, its shields absorbing thousands of impacts. Railguns fired in all directions, punching holes in enemy ships. Quantum torpedoes phased through shields and exploded inside hulls. The human fighters, led by Commander Jamin, attacked from all sides. They were smaller, faster, and harder to hit. They targeted the Velkari ship's weapons systems, crippling them before they could fire. Dr. Hanakim sat at a science station, analyzing the battle in real time. Arya, their command ship, is directing the others. If we take it out, the fleet will lose coordination. Correct, Arya said. However, the flagship has the strongest shields. It would require multiple hits with the Voidbreaker. Then we give them multiple hits, Deho said. How long to recharge the cannon? 2 minutes. We don't have 2 minutes, then we improvise, Yuna said. She studied the tactical display. Their ships are clustering around the flagship to protect it. If we can get close enough, we can use that against them. Pack them tighter, Deho understood. You want to ram them, not ram. Penetrate. Use our shields as a weapon. Drive through their formation and hit the flagship directly. That's insane. Probably. But we're out of sane options. Do it, Deho gave the order. The Testament accelerated to maximum speed, heading directly at the flagship. The Velkari fleet concentrated all their fire on the approaching ship. Energy beams, missiles, everything they had. The Testament's shields began to fail. 90%, 80, 70. The ship shook violently. Alarms blared. Hull breaches on decks 7 and 12, but the ship kept going. 60%, 50%. The shields were a burning sphere of blue light around the ship, bleeding energy into space. We're not going to make it. Someone shouted, Yes, we are! Deho shouted back. Hold together! 40%, 30%. The flagship was right in front of them now. Tholvar stood on his bridge, watching the human ship approach with a mixture of horror and respect. Brace for impact, he ordered. The Testament's shields failed at the last second, but the ship's momentum carried it forward. 2 kilometers of advanced human warship slammed into the Velkari flagship at relativistic speed. The collision was catastrophic. The Testament's reinforced bow tore through the flagship's hull, cutting the massive vessel in half. Explosions rippled along both ships. Systems failed. Fires erupted. On the Testament's bridge, everyone was thrown forward. Deho hit his head on the console and tasted blood. Sparks fell from the ceiling. Half the screens were dark, but they were alive. Status, he shouted. Aria's hologram flickered. Multiple hull breaches. Power at 30%. Shields offline. Weapons offline. But we are intact. The flagship is destroyed. Commander Tholvar is dead. Around them, the Velkari fleet stopped firing. Without their commander, without their flagship, confusion spread through their ranks. Ships began to retreat, breaking formation. Yuna pulled herself up from the floor. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. But she was smiling. Broadcast on all channels. Tell them if they leave now, we'll let them go. If they keep fighting, we'll destroy them all. The Velkari captains, faced with a choice between retreat and death, chose retreat. One by one, the ships turned and fled, leaving Earth's orbit behind. Humanity had won. 3 days after the battle, Captain Deho Choi stood in the observation deck of the Absolute Testament and looked down at Earth. The planet was wounded. He could see the craters where cities used to be. Mumbai, Jakarta, Cairo, Mexico City. 12 cities destroyed. 3.4 billion people dead. A third of humanity, gone in less than a week. But humanity had survived. That was what mattered. Behind him, the door opened. General Yunishin walked in, moving slowly. She had a bandage wrapped around her head and walked with a cane. The doctors had told her to rest, but she ignored them. There was too much work to do. How are the repairs going? She asked. Arya says we'll have full power back in 2 weeks. Shields in 3 weeks. Some of the weapon systems are destroyed completely, but we can rebuild them. Good. Because I don't think this is over. Deho turned to look at her. What do you mean? The Velkari who escaped will report back to their empire. They'll tell them about the Testament, about what happened here. We might have more enemies coming. Then we prepare. We rebuild. We build more ships like the Testament. Yuna nodded slowly. I've already started. Project Testament is now official. We're going to build 12 more warships. It will take years, maybe decades, but we'll do it. Earth will never be this vulnerable again. They stood in silence for a moment, looking at their damaged world. I keep thinking about all the people we lost, Deho said quietly. My sister was in Jakarta. I didn't even get to say goodbye. I know. I lost people too. We all did. Yuna put a hand on his shoulder. But they didn't die for nothing. They bought us time. Time for you to find this ship. Time for us to fight back. Their sacrifice saved humanity. I hope that's enough. It has to be. Down on Earth, Commander Jamin Park was helping with the reconstruction. Sol was a ruin, but people were already clearing debris and rebuilding. Humans were stubborn like that. Knocked them down and they got back up. He worked alongside civilians, moving rubble, helping search for survivors in collapsed buildings. His military rank didn't matter here. Everyone worked together. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, approached him. She held a drawing in her hands. "Mister, I made this for you." Jamin took the drawing. It showed the testament in space shooting at alien ships. The girl had drawn it in bright colors, making the battle look almost cheerful. "It's beautiful," he said. "Thank you. My mom says you saved us. You and the big ship. She says we're going to be okay now." Jamin knelt down to her level. "Your mom is right. We're going to be okay. It will take time, but we'll rebuild, and we'll be stronger than before." The girl smiled and ran back to her mother. Jamin watched her go, then looked back at the drawing. Maybe they would be okay. Maybe humanity had earned its place in the universe. On the testament, Dr. Hana Kim was working with Arya to prepare a message. Not a surrender message this time. "The opposite. We need to be clear," Hana said. "Strong but not aggressive. We don't want to start a war with the entire Velkari Empire." "Agreed," Arya said. "However, we must also make it clear that Earth is no longer an easy target. The message should inspire caution." They worked for hours, writing and rewriting. Finally, they had something they were satisfied with. They brought it to Yuna for approval. Yuna read it twice. Then she nodded. "It's perfect. Send it with the Velkari survivors." The testament had captured one intact Velkari ship after the battle. 37 crew members scared and defeated. Deho had them brought to the bridge. The Velkari captain, a female named Korvala, stood before him. She was trying to be brave, but he could see the fear in her 4 eyes. "You are free to go," Deho said. "Take your ship and return to your empire, but you will carry a message with you." Korvala straightened. "What message?" Hana stepped forward and handed her a data drive. "Tell your people what happened here. Tell them about the testament. Tell them that Earth is not weak. We were caught by surprise, yes. We lost billions, but we fought back, we won, and we are preparing to make sure this never happens again." "You want us to spread fear," Korvala said. "No," Yuna said. "We want you to spread truth. Fear is just a consequence. We don't enjoy killing. We don't want war. But if anyone comes to Earth with weapons, they will face the same fate as Commander Tholvar." Korvala took the data drive. "My people will hear of this. The Velkari Empire is vast. We have thousands of ships. And we have time to build thousands more," Deho said. "We also have something you don't. We have nothing left to lose. We've already seen the worst. We've already lost our loved ones. Any enemy who comes here will face an opponent who knows that death is not the worst thing that can happen." Korvala was quiet for a long moment. Then she bowed her head slightly. "I will deliver your message. I hope we meet again under better circumstances." "So do I," Deho said. The Velkari ship left orbit and jumped to faster than light speed, carrying its message to the stars. The message was simple. "We are humanity. We inhabit the third planet from the star you call Sol 3. In the outer arm of the galaxy, Commander Tholvar of the Velkari Empire came to conquer us. He believed we were primitive and weak. He destroyed 12 of our cities and killed billions of our people. He demanded our surrender. We refused. We fought with every weapon we had. When those were not enough, we revealed what we had hidden. A warship built in secret, waiting for the day it would be needed. That day came. The testament destroyed his fleet. Commander Tholvar is dead. His ships are scattered. We tell you this not to threaten you, but to inform you. Earth is not for conquest. Any species that comes in peace will be welcomed. We will trade with you, learn from you, and share our culture. But any species that comes with weapons will learn what the Velkari learned. We will defend ourselves. We will fight. And we will win. This is not pride. This is fact. We are humanity. We endure." Over the following months, the message spread. Alien civilizations across the galaxy heard about the Battle of Earth. Some dismissed it as propaganda. Others investigated and found it was true. A primitive species had defeated the Velkari Empire. Impossible, but true. Some species became curious. They sent peaceful envoys to Earth, offering trade and knowledge. Humanity cautiously accepted, learning that not all aliens were enemies. The Velkari Empire, however, did something unexpected. They removed Earth from their conquest list. The sector was marked as forbidden. No Velkari ship would approach the Sol system again. The Empire had lost too many ships, too many people. They had learned their lesson. 10 years later, Earth was transformed. Sol had been rebuilt bigger and better than before. The craters where cities had stood were now memorials, places where people came to remember the fallen. Above the planet, construction continued on the New Testament-class warships. 4 were already completed and operational. 8 more were being built. Captain Daeho Choi was now Admiral Choi, head of Project Testament. He had trained thousands of new crew members, built new weapons, and expanded humanity's defenses. He stood on the bridge of the Testament, which had been fully repaired and upgraded. His son, a boy of 6 named Kwan, stood beside him. "Papa, why is it called the Testament?" Kwan asked. Daeho knelt down. "Do you know what a testament is?" "A promise?" "Close. It's a statement of truth. Something that cannot be broken. This ship is our promise to the universe, a promise that humanity will never surrender, that we will stand tall no matter what comes, that we will protect each other and our home." "Did we really fight aliens?" "Yes, and we won. But we also lost a lot. Your grandmother was one of the people who died in the war." Kwan looked sad. "I wish I could have met her." "Me too. But she's part of the reason we're still here. She and billions of others bought us time to fight back. We have to remember them always." "I will." Daeho hugged his son. Around them, the bridge crew worked efficiently, monitoring space, watching for threats. But things were peaceful now. Earth had allies. It had defenses. It had hope. Commander Jae-min, now a colonel, visited the ship that day. He found Daeho in the observation deck looking at the stars. "Hard to believe it's been 10 years, Jae-min said. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago. We did it, though. We survived. Humanity is still here, and getting stronger every day." They stood together, 2 men who had faced the end of the world and lived to rebuild it. Far across the galaxy, in a dark room on a distant world, aliens discussed the humans. Some called them dangerous. Others called them valuable allies. But all agreed on one thing: Earth was no longer a target. It was a warning. Never underestimate a species that has everything to lose. Never underestimate a species that refuses to surrender. Never underestimate humanity. The Testament hung in orbit, silent and watchful, a monument to survival and a promise to the future. Its weapons were ready but pointed at no one. It existed not to conquer but to protect, and in the darkness of space where dangers still lurked, the Testament waited, ready for whatever came next. Because humanity had learned the most important lesson of all: we are never truly defeated until we choose to stop fighting. And humanity would never make that choice. The stars were full of challenges, full of dangers, full of opportunities, and humanity was ready for all of them.